Now on WCCO 4 News, the worst terrorist attack in our nation's history. Symbols of American life. The World Trade Center and the Pentagon hit. Hijacked planes crash into these buildings. Now all air travel is grounded. It's 6 o'clock and the news starts now. Twin Towers targeted by 2 hijacked airliners.
Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
A blast at the Pentagon and bristling security at federal installations across the world. It was an attack on America. This is WCCO 4 News. Hello, I'm Amelia Santinello.
And I'm Don Shelby.
Events are unfolding quickly. Here's the latest video coming into our newsroom. First to Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan.
What we're seeing and exactly what we're hearing, certainly the sound, what appears to be the sound of large missiles incoming and landing in the city.
It's not clear who is doing the firing. CNN says that this is shelling that happens regularly in that city. The White House denies any responsibility in the firing. Afghanistan is where Osama bin Laden is being sheltered. Several government sources believe he is the prime suspect who masterminded today's terrorism.
An unbelievable day.
An unbelievable day that's been described as another Pearl Harbor. We saw a string of terror involving 4 hijacked airliners. It started around 8:45 in Manhattan with an American Airlines plane crashing into one of the World Trade Center Twin Towers, leaving a big hole, exploding, fire. Then just 18 minutes later, caught on videotape, you see a United Airlines hijacked jet hitting the other Twin Tower. You can see flames coming out the other side of the building. Nearly 50,000 people worked inside of those towers. People covered in soot scrambled to take cover as both towers begin to crumble, collapse to the ground. 40 minutes later, outside of Washington, D.C., another plane strikes the near side of the Pentagon office building, the nerve center of the nation's military. Thousands are evacuated. The death and injury toll at the Pentagon is not known. Then about a half an hour later in Pennsylvania, a United Airlines plane crashes. It went down about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Senior FBI sources say there is no doubt all 4 planes were hijacked. And the people in New York watched in horror as the planes plowed into the World Trade Center. Several TV cameras captured the crashes. This is the best video we've seen so far of one of the planes flying through the Twin Towers. Hundreds of people were aboard those jets.
The World Trade Center towers were so prominent on the New York City skyline. After this morning's blast, the buildings continue to burn and crumble. Building 7 of the World Trade Center collapsed late this afternoon. The 47-story building burned all day after the taller Twin Towers were hit. Hours after those attacks, smoke still covers the skyline and rubble continues to fall. Here are the cities those 4 planes were coming from and going to. One American Airlines jet was en route from Boston to L.A. Another American Airlines jet was going from Dulles to Los Angeles. One United Airlines plane was en route from Newark to San Francisco. And the other United plane that crashed was en route from Boston to L.A. And the Federal Aviation Administration then shut down all aircraft takeoffs across the nation. So right now there are tens of thousands of travelers still stranded at the Twin Cities International Airport. That's where our team coverage begins with Bill Hudson. Bill, are any planes flying out of there yet?
Amelia, plain and simple, it is frightening just how silent it is out here. It's almost an eerie silence because all airline operations, of course, were ceased this morning shortly after the attacks. We're told now not to expect airline service to resume until tomorrow morning at the very earliest, if then. Meantime, disrupted travelers certainly understand why. No sooner had the day started for countless air passengers when it was cast into utter chaos.
We were told that we were landing here at Minneapolis St. Paul.
But for what reason?
An emergency.
Airspace over Twin Cities International became eerie and quiet as our nation's planes were ordered out of the sky.
We've heard speculation as to what may have happened, rumors, innuendos. It's tragic.
Deplaning passengers stared in horror and disbelief at television monitors near their gates.
It's just shameful to see this happen, to us in this great country.
Passengers aboard 3 Korean Airlines jets will spend an unscheduled night here. One of the planes was turned away just short of landing in New York.
We had really approached the New York at the JFK airport, but suddenly the plane return.
One man was on an emergency return flight from China to tend to an ailing wife, kept away at the time he's needed most.
And she had to have the operation done right immediately, but I couldn't be in New York today. Getting me crazy right now.
But through the frantic phone calls and rebooking of rooms and flights, passengers like Tim Frank can't imagine the terror, devastation, and pain felt by so many others.
Anybody who would get upset at waiting in line for a bag or waiting for customs or finding a flight out, people who would get upset in a situation like this need to reevaluate their priorities.
Yeah, and we've heard no complaining on the part of passengers out here. Now, because today's hijackings and terrorist attacks were the result of a breakdown in security at airports elsewhere, you can expect an unprecedented tightening of security at airports nationwide. Tomorrow, we are told to expect some of those changes here at Twin Cities International. They may include only ticketed passengers passing through those doors. Reporting live at Twin Cities International, I'm Bill Hudson.